All right, here we go. We're going to do a little bit more of an advanced tutorial. You're at this point where we left off in the first video. A different map. That map got destroyed when I was recording this same video, only on that map. I got a flooded cave, and that's always miserable. So, we're here. We have our food. We got a little bit of food stockpiled. We've got our personal rooms here, bakery, all this is set up. So we're all good. Some of our guys are equipped. Maybe you have a few soldiers. Now we want to build, right? Because building is fun, and that's what we came into this game to do for. I mean, that didn't make sense, but you know what I meant. That's what we came here to do. Yeah. So let's build whatever we like. Just to go back to those menus, you're going to the walls menu, to the wooden walls or stone, whatever your fancy is. I'm gonna pick wood since it's constantly renewable, and we're literally just gonna shift click and draw what we want them to build on. And I'm gonna leave space for my doors here. Be careful when you do this, because if you give them way too much to do at one time, they will overwork themselves trying to do it, and they'll stop making food for each other. They'll start eating raw food. They'll just generally be miserable. They'll start dying, starving, running too far. So it's just a good thing to give them small chunks of stuff to build relative to the amount of citizens you have, because soldiers will not do work. The soldiers are there to do either defense or to supervise, basically to bark orders to everyone, which makes them sad, or to do patrol. And of course you can group them as well. So as you can see, going about their work, chopping down more trees to make it possible to complete this task. And we will come back when they're all done. Okay, so might have jumped a little bit, but here we go. They have completed this first task, and since we've assigned them to make more, they are still chopping down these trees and stockpiling more wood because they just used a bunch. So let's draw some more. I'm gonna go through here, doing the same thing, just giving them little chunks to build so that we don't overburden them too much. Leaving space for our doors, which we'll come to in a second. Once they get this all built up. Again, all I did there was push Z, the Z key, so that I can continue to see through the walls when they get too big. Click, 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 click. So they're just about done here. We'll go ahead and tell them to build a couple doors. Maybe get some extra wood chopped down so that they get through this a little quicker. So the doors took me forever to find, and I just wanted to show you where they are. They're in the furniture menu because, that's intuitive. Clearly a door is furniture. Clearly. There they are. All kinds of doors. Special doors. Fancy doors. Not fancy doors. And we'll just place them around wherever we need a door. Just by clicking. Click, 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 click. Just like that. And they'll get to work building that. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get some heroes, and we're going to want to set up a dining hall. It makes your citizens happier when they eat in a hall instead of like this, just like next to a barrel near the kitchen. So it's just in your zones menu, and it is right here, the little fish or whatever that is on the table. Just click it, and I like to draw an area near the kitchen so that they don't have to go very far in order to eat. And just make a nice sized space for your citizens to eat. Okay, go ahead and do this. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but whenever a zone doesn't look right to you, you can always just right click it and expand it. And as long as you start inside, you can literally make it any shape that you want. Fancy little thing I figured out there. Fortunately, if you do that, you delete it forever and you can't erase it as conveniently. So make sure you get it right the way that you want it after your expansions. So as you can see, they go into the dining room to eat, and then they'll be even happier once we furnish it with tables, chairs, other things. But since our wood is in use right now, see, look, they put the doors up. We will go ahead and let them chop down trees and refill these barrels before we do that, just so that we don't overburden them too much. So we've got that. The next thing we're going to want to do is set up a tavern, and I'm going to need to clear out some space for this. Just right over here. Okay, and once this is cleared out, we will build it. While they clean up these last couple tidbits, let's get started. Let's see. These are full, so I'm fine with destroying these. So the tavern is what attracts heroes, and it's not so much the tavern as it is the tavern room. The fact that they have a place to stay is what they like, as opposed to just having a tavern to sit in. Personal preference, the thing only has to be 3x3, but I like to make them 4x4 because they're heroes, they're the strong ones, they deserve a bigger space. Well, at least that's what my brain says. Fortunately, the good thing about this game is that it's very open to being creative, so you can do whatever you want. Heroes come into the map based upon how many rooms you have and how many citizens you have. It tends to be the square root. So I have 16 citizens, so I'm going to get 4 heroes. When I have 25 citizens, I'll get 5. When I have 36, I'll get 6, etc., etc. So you don't need to make too many rooms. I've got 6 here. Why don't we go ahead and we'll add on one more so that I get about 7. And then I can cut this away and add more as I see fit. So we've got the rooms, and now we need to make the actual tavern. Okay, and being fancy and using the expand function, I can then draw it down over here and keep it all part of the same unit. And there's our tavern. Isn't that cool? And we should start seeing heroes coming in fairly immediately. Yep, there's one. And which room did he pick? It's really weird. There we go. Sometimes they don't choose a room. They just kind of wander around roomless. They just love that wanderer mentality, I suppose. Again, just like everything else, doesn't have to be walled in. It just makes it look a little nicer, and it'll defend you from sieges later on. But I think you have to lock these doors in order for that to make any kind of effect. So, tavern, we've got a hero. More are to come. So the heroes need something to do. They could just wander around town and protect us, or they can wander around and kill off enemies. But what they really like to do is explore dungeons, just like we do in all those other RPG games. We love exploring dungeons, so let's make one. We have to stick it off kind of to the side, because that's what I like. Here we go, we'll put it over here. We'll right-click that space and have him dig a ladder, and someone will probably do it. And here's the thing about mining. This layer right here is the layer that is below this number. So this is layer 0, and this is layer 1. So as you can see, I X down. Here's all my stuff. It's just this ground level here. So for this ladder to continue, we have to go to the space in front of it and dig another ladder. Someone will get on that. Okay, and then same thing. We got to mine out this space in front of us. And then if we dig this out, go down another layer, dig a new ladder. There we go. Mine out this space, dig that out. And then this layer, here we go. There's some dungeons here. So they'll be able to get in, but let's just make this entrance a little bit bigger. And while you can take your guys and use the mine or the dig to constantly get them to explore this, it's actually what the heroes do. The heroes will come down here and wander around and explore and kill stuff, so that, like, this guy's about to die, so that your units don't die. He's dead. Looks like we got 3 heroes now. Let's see how long it takes for any of them to come into here to save my poor units. Oh man, I've got some lazy heroes. What are they all doing? They're just hanging out up here. This guy looks like he's hungering for a little excitement. Here he goes. And here we are. He comes down here, he kind of stands around. Eventually he'll work his way through. Yep, there we go. Now let's just go fight stuff. And the reason why we do this is this kind of the goal of the game is you build a town for these heroes and you keep them fed and happy and healthy, and in turn they explore your caves, take your loot, and they show you where there's nice ores and stuff so you can upgrade your own armor for your villagers, for your soldiers, so that you can survive increasingly more difficult attacks. So once these guys explore around a bit and find me some iron, I will come back. So they haven't quite found some iron yet, but there are some building things that I still wanted to cover that I completely forgot. So one level is great, but it's not a second level, and it's certainly not a roof. So how do we go about that? Well, first off, just like any other building, your villagers have a certain height that they are, and so they can only reach a certain distance. So in any of these walls menus, block, doesn't matter, they all have this scaffold. And like it says, it's easy come, easy go. It doesn't cost any resources. Your villagers just bring it right over and place it down wherever you tell them to do it. So I like to place a couple around the map, or rather around the building, just so that they have several different ways of getting up to the higher levels. And currently, if we tried to build a second level without the scaffolding, they'd be able to do it. The problem is that if they put up this last block, they might get stuck up there because they can't get back down. And when they get stuck up there, the game doesn't tell you until they starve to death. And we don't want anyone to die, clearly. So we're going to go ahead and just put some preemptive scaffolding here so that they can get down no matter what. So I'm going to tell them to start building a second layer. I just used the Q or X buttons, Q to go up one level, and then I'm just selecting it the same way I did before. And this time I'm leaving some space for my windows, because they appreciate having windows. They want to be able to see outside, look at all the pretty things, and such. And I decided to build these personal rooms like this because then we can stick a layer on top of these guys of more personal rooms, and we'll get something like an apartment complex for them going. And you can do whatever you want. You can spread this out over however much distance you want to, but I like to keep things a little bit more compact so that everything is easily accessible and they don't have to walk too far to get to their destination. Now obviously, as the game progresses and I get a lot more people and I'm running out of space to put them, because this building only goes up to level 12, so I'll be able to get 4 floors, and that's about it, before the game says no, you can't do that anymore. And then of course I'll have to expand outwards and whatnot. But for the sake of right now, we're just going to build up to a second layer, and we'll cover how to get your actual citizens up there without having any scaffolding. So I'm not sure how well you can see this, but on my mini-map here, they've explored pretty much everything on this side of the river. And you can see maybe there's little yellow spots here and here and here. And those are resources that they found. So if we go over here, there's a bunch of gravel here. There's a bunch of gravel here. And then there's some copper right here. So that's pretty lucky, because copper is a little better than iron, but unfortunately we need to find the iron first, because we won't really be able to utilize this copper resource until we go a little bit lower. Luckily, we also found a bunch of coal, and a lot of coal. And when you find your iron, this is the kind of thing that you're going to do to it. So while I have my guys come and dig out this area over here, just to see if there's any more copper hiding in there, I'll show you what to do over here. So, with the exception of gold and silver, we can build a mine shaft on top of any resource. And what a mine shaft does is it will infinitely produce one unit of the ore that it's on top of every 16 minutes. So, obviously, if you have three um, if you have three mine shafts, then they produce three every 16 minutes. Sounds slow, but it builds up rather quickly. Coal isn't as horribly important as iron is, but in order to make mine shafts in the first place, we need torches, which require coal. So let's make a couple mine shafts. They go in groups of 4, so as you can see, I've mined out my little groups, and this one's on the surface, so it has to be on the ground floor. We're on floor 0, so this is the ground, and this is on ground, or on floor -1. So I'll have them build one here, and here, and let's delete this coal, and put them here. Now, while they're building these, they're going to look for all these materials, and as you can see, we don't have torches or iron, so you're going to need some iron to complete the mine shaft. But they'll have the wood, and they'll get the torches when we tell them to make them. Over here in your Productions tab, you're going to go to Utilities and see the torches. We want them to build 6 torches because it requires 2 per mine shaft. And once I dig around a little more and find a reliable source of iron, because I did find some over here, but digging in this area is the worst possible thing I can do because my chances of hitting a flood are so great that it's just not worth it. So I'm going to make them go down one more level and see if I can find a more reliable source of iron. While they do that, I'm going to expand this upper area a little bit more. I built more rooms up here, and currently they'll just access it by using the scaffolding, and we'll remedy that in a while, or at least I'll tell you how to do it. But more importantly, these holes are still here for the windows, and we want to fill these holes up with windows, obviously. So over here in our tab of furniture, we have windows right there, and there's a few different kinds. There's a regular glass window, which will actually put an entire block down, or these, which are kind of like these little half blocks. I'm going to use this for all of my wood buildings because it looks nice still, and these don't actually count as a block. So once you start building up into these higher areas over here, your guys will have a lot higher chance of getting stuck or not being able to reach areas like this because they're entirely unnavigable until you put a scaffolding over here, and that it's kind of annoying having to place scaffolding everywhere. So I'm going to use these for now, but feel free to use whatever you'd like. So just select it and shift click them in the correct spaces that you would like them to go. And your townsfolk aren't going to immediately go and make them because they need glass to do it with. And in order to make glass, they have to have sand or mud. So you can dig out the side of a hill, or you can collect some mud from digging on the surface, like I have done here. And as you can see, there's a bunch of mud over here. And the way you get them to produce glass is you need a smelter, which comes from finding iron, and you need to go over to this little tabby here and go to materials, and there it is, glass. We'll just have them make, how many windows are we placing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And it won't let me do it because I don't have any smelter. So we'll just make this 16. So when we get one, that they'll make it. And it's as simple as that. So I finally found some iron way over here. Here's our little ladder. And way over here, they found some. So I had them mine it out. And there's some more below, and there's a hole here. So clearly the level 6 dungeon, yep, it's right here. So what we're looking for is these kind of patches, squares of 4, so that we can put a mine shaft on top of it. Sorry, that was a burp. So I'm going to have them mine this. And We're going to mine out as much of this area as we can, because we know that when we dip down one level, there's no air over here. So we can safely get to all this stuff. And I also want to get that iron. In terms of the level above, the stuff that I'm mining here is this part of the floor, obviously. So once I get some guys down here, they'll, here we go, there's someone. The other thing I've done is, since these mines tend to have very convoluted paths, I want a quick and easy way for them to get to it. So I just had them dig a very big straight line all the way to here, just to make the path as easy and quickly traveled as possible. You can also, and I've done this on other maps, is dig a ladder up to the surface, but it puts them up here in the middle of nowhere, and they'd have to walk over here. So for now, I'm going to opt out of that, and I'll probably do it later since it's not too far away. But really, all I want right now is the little bits of iron. And where did it go? One more level. Here we are. And they'll automatically come and grab the iron as they need it to finish those mine shafts that we made. And speaking of mine shafts, let's make another one right there. Let's see. Can also dig this out a little bit. But the absolute best part about getting iron is being able to start making our forge, and that's really what I want to highlight right now. So let's go back up to the surface, and let's see if they finish these. Yep, they've got 2 of them ready, so they'll go and get that automatically. Let's go back up here and find a spot to put a forge. I like to keep it near the exit because they're going to come up that path, obviously. So, I don't really like this space, though. I don't really want to put it here. As you can see, I fenced off my farm just to keep the animals in, so that they're not wandering around out here and getting lost, and it takes forever to go find them. I guess I'll put the forge right over here. Why not? So we go to our zones, we go to a forge, and let's build our forge. Make it a pretty good size. It should be fine for now. Destroy these carnivorous plants too. And the first thing we're going to need to do is queue up some tongs, because in order to make an anvil, we'll need tongs and a stone hammer. And it took me forever to find these things, so I'll show you real quick. Tongs right here. These were the easiest. We'll make one set. This thing that was hard to find was a stone hammer. You'd think it'd be around here too, but it's actually in your weapons under stone. And there it is, stone hammer. So we'll make one of those as well. While they do that, they'll have to gather some more iron. So let's drop back down. Oh, let's also queue up an anvil to be made. Just one for now, because what we really want is a smelter. Step back down into our caves. And here's the iron. So let's have them get this. And have them get these. And we'll have them get these too. Actually, yeah. Not yet. Not the corner, because I don't want that to be a space. So let's actually do this first, just to see. Right, and while all that's being done, while that's being done, I will pause the video. So there's our forge. Our next bout of business is getting a smelter. And we'll get 2 smelters, and we'll put down another anvil. Putting down another anvil means we need to queue up more tongs and more stone hammers. Okay. So while they're searching out all this iron and building this stuff for you, a couple things you can do: expand your farm, make sure that your citizen count is not too high for the amount of food. I like to hover over my barrels where I store it and make sure that they always have something stored. If not, you'll notice that these guys will have a bunch of these hunger symbols floating over them, and they'll be too hungry. And at that point, I like to turn on my flour production, as you can see. It's because that stuff is created a little bit faster than the meat is, and you don't have to wait for your animals to spawn if you need to build some more. Unfortunately, it only does 75% of their health as opposed to 105%. So it's a little bit better to have meat, but if you're in a pinch, bread works great. These are all packed up. Those are packed up. You can also expand your buildings up like I've done. Finally got this entire floor done. And one thing I don't recommend is another huge reason why we didn't have our containers store everything. Our guys would be coming down here to get all of this stuff and pick it all up and put it away. And that would just totally take up all of their time, and they'd start starving and all that good fun stuff we talked about before. So, we're getting our second anvil and our 2 smelters. They're going to go about that duty, and once we get those, we'll start being able to make glass, and we're going to make one of these item smithies right here, except we're going to need a couple spiderite to do that, and our smelters. And once we get this ITE smithy going on, we can put down some chests to store the items in right here, and they'll start gathering them up, and at this point you'll be able to upgrade your units to some better armor than wood. You'll be able to put them in iron or spiderite. I like to go straight to spiderite because it gets all that spiderite used up, and it only takes 1 iron as opposed to everything else, which will take you multiple iron to use, and it's way better in terms of armor. So I'll pop back once I got a little production of new armors going on, and yeah, I'll pick up there. So we have the 2 forges, 2 smelters, and we're starting to stockpile a little iron. All we would have to do from here is build some armor cabinets, if you like. Go into here, armors, and we have a bunch of stuff available to us now. You can make iron sets if you want. Coal and 2 iron for this stuff. Coal and 3 iron here. You can make some goblinite if your guys have found goblinite. This takes copper to make, which we have found a deposit of copper. Spider bane. This just requires iron and spiderite. Spiderite is quite common since spiders are one of the first enemies you find in these dungeons. And here we can see there's a bunch of spiderite around here. So they'll be able to produce those kinds of armors if you would like them to. So before I end this, I'd like to show 2 more things. The first thing is here, a hospital, and I want to show you how to make a roof too. We'll start with the hospital. Hospitals are really useful because when your townsfolk are mortally wounded or severely wounded or just injured in general, they'll need a place to go so that they don't die. They will heal faster in a hospital. And inside the hospital, we tend to just place beds and medicine cabinets. These right here. You can see that reference to Left 4 Dead. Pills here. So let's put some medicine cabinets here and here. And let's expand this down another one. Put some medicine cabinets here and here as well. Throw down some beds. Oops. And they'll put those things in there, and then when these guys are injured, or our heroes are injured, they'll go to the hospital and they'll heal up much faster. Or why don't we decorate it too? Decorations. We'll put one of these little bonsai trees in there. And then you can wall that in and put a door whenever you'd like. The final order of business is making a roof. So I have this made here because I'm going to cut off this section right here. There's a design thing that I want to do, and also to show you how to make a roof. So it's also in your walls. Here's in your roofs. Then you have a bunch of different options. Pick the one that is to your fancy. And the thing about roofs is they will go on top of objects, and they will go against objects. But they will not float in the air, like right here. They'll try and place it, and it'll fall down. So you really just don't want to build there yet. Kind of have to make it a little slow going with the roof. Here, see, like this. It's just kind of floating on the air. Doesn't want to go. Now I'll move it around. Must not be able to reach that point yet. Okay, so I like to have them build a row of the roof. And then when that is complete, which it looks like it's about ready right now, I'll build the second row. Here. And then they'll go do that, and then I'll do the same thing with these two rows, and then our roof will be complete. And there it is. Completed roof. There's some guys wandering around on top. This is the reason why we make our scaffolding go a little bit higher. But that about does it. So thank you for watching, and I might make another one of these depending on how I feel about making an advanced tutorial. But explore the game. It's really fun, and it's pretty straightforward from this point. See you guys later.